All right, Shannon, let's get into this, shall we?
Let's do it.
Why?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yes. Well, you should not start a business, right? The past 7 years, we've been encouraging you, right? All our listeners, why you should start, things you need to do. Along the way, we've had tons of people on the show that talked about their success and how they powered through adversity and all that stuff. But I think it's a good time to talk to the people that maybe haven't started a business, or and maybe there's very good reasons. And I want to talk about those reasons today and blow through some of them. And you made a comment earlier, David, I found interesting. You said that some of these reasons were valid and some were not. Was that the term?
Yeah, as I started, we talked about this earlier in the week, and as we usually do, we kind of both formulate our thoughts. Shannon and I each have very different approaches to formulating our thoughts, which is great. I love it. And as I was formulating mine and coming up with reasons, some of them I put on my valid reasons list, like things that absolutely, if this is true for you and it is immutable, meaning that it cannot change, then you probably shouldn't start a business. But if you think this is a reason, others are on the invalid list. If you think it's a reason you shouldn't start a business, well, I think you're wrong, actually. But we'll get there. Yeah. So. Yeah. Absolutely. I will surprise you with these, hopefully, as we march through this here. Yeah.
And I think the first one we're probably in sync on. We've talked about it a lot over the years. In fact, episode 15, all the way back, about 7 years ago, and episode 13, we did a managing your fear episode. And then a couple episodes later, we did a show called The Fear Confessional, if you remember that, Dave.
Man.
And we both talked about our own fears and how it held us back and how we got through those things. And so the first reason why you should not start a business is on my list is you are afraid. And I think that fear is I think it's the number one reason why people fail to act. Afraid of failure and maybe even afraid of success.
Oh, definitely. Right? Fear of failure and fear of success are the same thing because they are changes. They are things that will impact your life significantly, perhaps. And change fear of change is a huge thing. Even just starting a business is a change. And so fear of change is there. Yeah. I also had fear at the top of my list. And it is at the top of my list of invalid reasons why you should not start a business. Because being afraid is normal. It is something we all experience. I still experience it regularly with my businesses. In fact,
of course,
when I notice my fear creeping in is when we are about to do something different. If I'm sitting here at my desk, let's take Backbeat Media, for example, right? The business that we've had for a long time here, 23 years. And it's the one that we manage and, sell all the sponsorships for a bunch of podcasts. When I'm sitting at my desk, somebody sends us a thing. Hey, I want to, vet some new sponsor for a new campaign. That's a normal thing for us. Zero fear. When I sit and say, and so we go through the whole process, the money comes in, it's great, like coasting along, business as usual. Now, the first time I did that, there was not zero fear. It was very much more than that. But now we do that all the time. No fear. Anytime we've been talking to some other podcasters. They're not necessarily new podcasters. In fact, many of them are not new podcasters, but we're bringing more podcasters into the Backbeat family, a few more. And talking with someone for the first time, as I head into that phone call, I start coming up, or if I look at it and it's 3 hours later on my schedule, immediately, oh, well, I don't have time for that today. Maybe I should push that call off tomorrow. Like, these are the thoughts that enter my head because it's something new. These people don't know me. They may not like what we tell them about how Backbeat works, and they might not want to work with us. And that's, there are, if we talk to 10 podcasters, that might be true of 7 of them because we work in a very specific way that works for us. And that's okay. Like, we're totally fine with that. It's those 3 that we really want because it's a good fit. But I'm always afraid of what those 7 are going to say because I know what they're going to say. But I've learned to notice that fear or the things that are the symptoms of that fear and ignore them. Now, there are some things where you want to acknowledge the fear and maybe listen to it. But there's a lot of times where you don't want to listen.
Yeah, you actually came up with this topic, I think, came from you. We did episode 370 on using fear as a compass. And we did that show not too long ago. We'll put these links in the show notes. So if you missed those episodes, you can go back and listen to these. And I think I feel similar. I would call it like my nerves kind of get going or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not that, I mean, I guess you could consider it fear at a different level, but I really enjoyed that fear as a compass concept because in my experience, if I look back on the things that made me nervous or fearful of trying something different or changing some things up, some of those, I would argue most of those things had a very positive impact on my business and even on my personal life.
Yeah.
Looking back at them. So.
That's right. Yeah. Change is, for me anyway, always fearful. It's I am full of fear when I am going into change. And that's never going to change. No pun intended. Right. But it is something that I've learned and now I notice it. And it's like, okay, what's the reason for that fear? Is it a valid reason to not proceed? And those are two different questions. The fear is valid because it's a feeling, right? If it's a real feeling, it's a valid feeling. But is it a valid reason to stop moving forward? And that's the question you need to ask yourself. Because sometimes the fear is telling you, do not do this, right? And it is correct once you look at it logically. But you have to be able to notice, detach, and evaluate. Yeah. I like it.
It's good.
Yeah, man.
Yep. That's good. That's a huge thing to get through. But once you learn how to master it, you can be really powerful.
Yeah.
Definitely.